The political atmosphere in the United States has once again been jolted by an extraordinary development involving John Bolton, the former national security advisor to ex-President Donald Trump. According to a source cited by the Associated Press, FBI agents carried out a search at Bolton's residence, a move that instantly captured national attention and sparked fierce debate across the political spectrum. The very notion that federal agents executed a warrant at the home of such a high-ranking former official underscores the seriousness of the matter, and it has raised questions about what evidence the Justice Department might be seeking and how it could reshape the already turbulent landscape of American politics. John Bolton, a figure well known for his hawkish foreign policy views, served under Trump between April 2018 and September 2019. His tenure was marked by deep disagreements with the former president over how to handle adversaries like Iran, North Korea, and Russia. Bolton's eventual dismissal followed mounting tensions, and his subsequent memoir, The Room Where It Happened, accused Trump of putting personal interests above national security. That book not only angered the former president but also drew legal challenges from the government, which argued Bolton had released sensitive material without full clearance. Although those lawsuits eventually fizzled, they left lingering questions over Bolton's handling of classified information. With news of the FBI's search, those unresolved controversies have resurfaced and raised speculation about whether investigators are probing similar issues. The search itself, as reported, occurred early in the morning. Agents presented a warrant, which by law requires probable cause that evidence of a crime exists at the location. The Justice Department has not released official details, but speculation among legal analysts and media outlets is intense. Some suggest it may relate to classified documents, a subject that has already ensnared Trump himself in separate investigations. Others believe it could be tied to Bolton's potential connections to foreign entities, as former officials sometimes come under scrutiny for possible violations of the Foreign Agents Registration Act. Another possibility is that the FBI is pursuing information linked to broader Trump-era inquiries, where Bolton's insider perspective and access to sensitive decision-making could be crucial. For Bolton personally, the development is significant and potentially damaging. His allies insist he was taken by surprise and is consulting legal counsel, while his critics argue that this proves his political and legal troubles are far from over. Regardless of the eventual outcome, the image of FBI agents searching his home is bound to affect his reputation as a longtime foreign policy heavyweight. The political fallout was immediate. Democrats seized on the moment to argue that the justice system is operating without favoritism, applying accountability even to high-ranking officials. They emphasized that no one, regardless of position, is above the law. Republicans, on the other hand, expressed mixed reactions. Trump loyalists cast the search as further proof of what they describe as a weaponized Justice Department targeting figures connected to the former president. However, some Republicans stopped short of defending Bolton outright, given his public criticisms of Trump and his long record of clashes with the party's populist wing. This division highlights the ongoing fault lines within the GOP, where loyalty to Trump often determines political positioning. The media environment quickly became saturated with discussion and speculation. Liberal commentators pointed out that Bolton's history of opposing Trump after leaving the administration complicates claims that the Justice Department is simply pursuing Trump's allies. Conservative outlets questioned whether the Justice Department had overreached, insisting that only strong evidence could justify such a dramatic action against a former national security advisor. The intensity of the debate reflects how politically charged federal law enforcement has become in the aftermath of the Trump presidency. The historical context makes this episode even more striking. The FBI rarely executes searches against senior political figures unless national security stakes are extremely high. Previous searches of Trump lawyer Rudy Giuliani's home and Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate triggered massive public and political backlash. Bolton now joins that list, cementing the impression that legal battles tied to the Trump years continue to ripple outward into American political life. Bolton's relationship with Trump is also central to this story. Although initially aligned on certain foreign policy goals, Bolton quickly grew disillusioned and accused Trump of undermining U.S. interests. Trump retaliated by mocking Bolton and dismissing him as incompetent. This bitter history means the FBI's interest in Bolton is doubly intriguing. On one hand, he was a top Trump advisor with access to secrets, while on the other hand, he became a critic whose testimony or knowledge could be damaging to the former president in ongoing investigations. That dual role makes him a uniquely complex figure in the wider legal narrative surrounding Trump and his administration. The timing of the FBI search is politically sensitive. With Trump actively campaigning for the 2024 presidential election while under indictment in multiple cases, every new revelation about his former officials reverberates into the political arena. For Democrats, the development reinforces their portrayal of the Trump era as plagued by questionable practices and potential legal violations. For Republicans, it creates an awkward dilemma: whether to defend a conservative figure like Bolton, despite his criticism of Trump, or dismiss him as an adversary undeserving of protection. The choice could shape party messaging in the months ahead. Beyond domestic politics, the international implications are noteworthy. Bolton was a central figure in shaping Trump's foreign policy decisions, from pushing for the withdrawal from the Iran nuclear deal to pressing for harsher sanctions on adversaries like North Korea and Venezuela. News of the FBI raid has been widely covered in foreign media, with analysts abroad interpreting it as either evidence of U.S. accountability or as proof of political chaos. In adversarial states like Iran and North Korea, the story is being used to highlight supposed instability in American democracy, pointing to the spectacle of senior officials under investigation. The path forward remains uncertain. Legal experts caution that it may take weeks or months before the scope of the investigation becomes clear. If charges are filed, they could involve classified material or violations of lobbying laws, both of which carry serious penalties. If no charges emerge, the FBI and the Justice Department will face questions about the necessity of such a high-profile search. Either way, the consequences for Bolton's legacy and for public trust in U.S. institutions will be significant. The Justice Department's recent approach shows a pattern of caution and deliberation when targeting prominent political figures. Such steps are never taken lightly, as they risk fueling accusations of politicization. For this reason, observers believe the FBI must have gathered substantial evidence before proceeding against Bolton. The eventual disclosure of that evidence, whether in court filings or official statements, will determine how this episode is ultimately judged. The search of John Bolton's home is not just another political headline, it is a reminder of how deeply the Trump presidency continues to shape the U.S. legal and political system years after it ended. It raises profound questions about accountability, the rule of law, and the boundaries of executive power. For Bolton, it is another chapter in a career defined by controversy, foreign policy battles, and now, personal legal uncertainty. For the country, it signals that the shadows of the Trump era are far from fading, and that the clash between law, politics, and public perception will remain a defining feature of American life for the foreseeable future.